He was 90 years old, but when Walter "Iron Hand" Hayes walked onto the Marine training field, every young recruit stopped what they were doing. His back was slightly bent from years of carrying burdens most men would never know, but his eyes still burned with the fire of Normandy, Iwo Jima, and the battles that shaped the world. Word had spread across the base that the legendary World War II veteran had come not just to visit, but to challenge the young Marines themselves. Some laughed quietly, nudging each other, whispering that an old man had no place on their ground. Others smirked, thinking this would be over in seconds. But they didn't know Walter Hayes. They didn't know that inside that weathered frame was a warrior who had seen more in a single month of war than most men could fathom in a lifetime. And they had no idea that this day would change everything. The sergeant called for silence, and Walter stepped forward, rifle slung over his shoulder, his steady hands gripping it like it was part of his soul. His voice cut through the murmurs. "You think strength is only in muscle? Let's see if you know what real strength looks like." The challenge was set. Every Marine's eyes lit up, half in disbelief, half in excitement, ready to witness what they thought would be the fall of a legend. But they were wrong. What unfolded next would not only humble the toughest young Marines on that field but would also remind every single one of them why men like Walter Hayes were the reason they even wore their uniforms. Walter "Iron Hand" Hayes had been a ghost in the town for years, a quiet old veteran who only came out for parades or ceremonies, leaning on his cane, smiling politely, and disappearing again into the shadows. But on his 90th birthday, he chose a different stage. The Marine Corps training base nearby was hosting a shooting competition, a friendly test of skill meant for the new recruits and their instructors. Walter showed up uninvited, wearing his faded service cap and carrying the same bolt-action rifle he had used when he was younger than most of the men before him. At first, the Marines didn't know what to make of him. Some saluted respectfully, others exchanged skeptical looks, whispering about the frail man who dared to step onto their ground. When Walter announced he wanted to challenge the young Marines in their own competition, laughter rippled across the ranks. One corporal smirked and muttered, "Sir, with respect, you'll break your shoulder firing that thing." But Walter's steely gaze shut him up before he could continue. The sergeant major overseeing the event, sensing both amusement and curiosity in his men, decided to allow it. "All right, old-timer," he said, "let's see what you've got." The first challenge was marksmanship, and as the young Marines lined up with their advanced rifles, Walter positioned himself calmly with his aged weapon. The whistle blew, and rifles barked in unison. Dust clouds rose as bullets hit targets. When the smoke cleared, the Marines had done well, but Walter's shots were cleaner, tighter, grouped so perfectly that even the instructors exchanged glances of disbelief. The old man hadn't just kept up, he had outclassed them. Whispers of "lucky" floated, but Walter's steady stance silenced doubts. The next round was physical drills, obstacle courses, sprints, push-ups. The Marines grinned, thinking this was where the 90-year-old would fail. And though his legs trembled, Walter moved with precision. He didn't sprint the fastest, but he never faltered. Every wall, every rope, every crawl, he completed with grit that left the recruits staring. By the time he collapsed onto the dirt, chest heaving but eyes blazing, the same men who mocked him were the first to offer him water and salute him with respect. But the day wasn't done. The sergeant major, seeing morale and pride clash in the air, proposed one last test, a live tactical exercise. Walter was paired against a squad of 4 Marines in a mock combat drill through the training grounds. The Marines thought it unfairly stacked in their favor. But when the whistle blew, they quickly learned they were not hunting a frail old man, they were being hunted. Walter's decades of battlefield instinct guided him. He moved silently, using cover better than men a quarter his age, ambushing with precision. One by one, he tagged each Marine with mock shots until he cornered the last one, the corporal who had mocked him earlier. The young man froze as Walter appeared behind him, pressing the barrel of his training rifle to his back. Lesson 1, Walter said in a low growl, never underestimate the enemy. The corporal raised his hands in defeat, shame mixing with admiration. The drill ended, and the field erupted, not with laughter this time, but with applause and roaring cheers. As Walter stood, sweat dripping down his wrinkled face, the flag above the field caught the wind, snapping against the sky. The Marines who had doubted him now surrounded him, shaking his hand, patting his back, some even choking up at the sight of living history standing before them. The sergeant major called the formation to attention and ordered a salute. Dozens of young Marines, men trained to be the toughest in the nation, raised their hands to their brows in honor of the 90-year-old warrior who had just taught them more in one afternoon than weeks of drills could. Walter returned the salute, his voice cracking but strong enough to reach every ear. "You carry the torch now. Don't ever forget the men who lit it before you." Silence followed, heavy with meaning, until a thunderous aura shook the field. That day became legend on the base. For months, recruits told the story of the old World War II veteran who came to challenge them and ended up teaching them about courage, respect, and the kind of strength no age could weaken. Walter went home quietly, as he always did, but this time his name echoed in the halls of the Marines, carved into their memories as a reminder that warriors never truly age, they just grow older.